Without a single escort from HYB or the military, BTS's Jin was suddenly seen standing alone in front of the military camp gate after visiting Jimin. But who exactly is he waiting for? And why does his face seem to be holding something back? Is this a form of silent resistance to the agency? Or has Jin been hiding from the public all this time? Without security escort, BTS's Jin waited to be picked up by someone after visiting BTS's Jimin. Is this a nightmare that is happening in silence? Or is it just a new chapter of the story that has only been rumored slowly among fellow ARMY? BTS's Jin, the worldwide handsome, a senior idol known for being disciplined, loyal, and dedicated, was suddenly caught on camera standing alone in front of the military camp gate. No escort, no HYB staff, no crowds of fans. Just him, and his blank gaze gazed into the distance. The question is, why? Why would a Jin, a BTS member who has given everything for the team, even leaving early for the ARMY to make room for the others, suddenly choose not to use an escort, not escorted by a single official HYB vehicle, and stand alone like an ordinary citizen in front of a military area full of risks and public eyes? More surprisingly, information leaked from internal sources mentioned that Jin had just visited Jimin inside the military camp. But there is not a single official upload from HYB. There are no public statements. There was no press release, even though the meeting of two BTS members who are undergoing military service is definitely a rare and meaningful moment. Then, why is this moment hidden? Is HYB covering something up? Or is Jin sending a secret message to the ARMY that something is wrong with Jimin's current condition? At that time, the weather around the military camp was quite cloudy. The wind blew a few sheets of leaves on the sidewalk of the street leading to the gate post. The genie stood upright in a dark brown jacket, a gray mask slightly sagging to the chin, and a blank look. It's like waiting for someone important. But who? Eyewitnesses who saw the incident firsthand said that Jin stood for almost 27 minutes without touching the phone in the slightest. No vehicles from HYB. No military personnel escorted him out. He just got out, walked on his own, and stopped on the sidewalk. Some say Jin seemed to cry for a moment before a black car with dark glass came and picked him up. But who was in that car? Why is there no HYB logo? Is that person a member of his family? Close friends? Or even someone unknown to the public? To date, HYB has not provided any official information about the incident. They chose silence as usual. Like when rumors about Jimin's condition have been popping up lately. Like when the public questioned Jin's tired expression in the last photo shoot with the Echo project. All this interconnected, what made ARMY even more shocked and emotional was the fact that this wasn't the first time Jin had been seen as saving a load. But this time, his eye expression was sharper, more blank, and almost resembled someone who wanted to say something but couldn't. Some ARMY even speculated that Jin visited Jimin not only because of homesickness, but maybe because he knew something was happening to Jimin that could not be allowed. Has Jimin's condition worsened within the military? Is there any pressure that Jimin is experiencing and is not known to the public? Or is Jin on a personal mission to make sure his best friend is okay? Even more puzzling, why wasn't a single HYB staff accompanying? Did Jin deliberately refuse supervision? Or did HYB really not want the meeting to be known to the public? This question created a storm of speculation among fans, especially in the international ARMY community, which has been known to be very sensitive to signs of changes in members. Attitudes point one thing's for sure. The genie is hiding something, and the deeper we delve, the more puzzles arise. In a virtual fan meeting a few months ago before Jimin entered the military, Jin had a phrase that now feels very suspicious. "If I go to see him later, I hope you can understand why." At that time, such sentences were considered commonplace. But now, it seems to be an early clue that Jin has been planning this visit for a long time. Not an ordinary visit. It's an emotional visit, full of meaning, and perhaps full of secrets. There is also a theory that the black car that picked up Jin did not belong to HYB, but someone from Jimin's past who wanted to meet, but did not want to be exposed. Does this mean that the Jin intercede? Did Jim leave a message? Or is it that Jin wanted to convey something from Jimin to the public, but HYB held it back? Whatever it was, The way Jin stood alone without an escort after visiting Jimin was a message too obvious to ignore. It's like sending a signal, but not words.
With his body.
With his silence. With eyes full of emotion, there's grief there. There was a cry held back. There was a feeling of helplessness that crept behind the firmness of his steps. And one big question that now hangs in the sky, the hearts of the army. What really happened between Jin and Jimin behind the walls of that military camp? Is this a sign that Jimin's condition is much more worrying than we imagine? Or is Jin trying to fight for something he can't say openly? Or rather, this is a form of Jin's silent resistance to the system that has been governing their lives. Does HYB realize that their silence actually makes the public even more suspicious? And finally, who is Jin waiting for that day? Will we ever get the answer? Or, as always, will all pass by, buried by time, and leave only deep wounds in the hearts of fans who are always faithfully waiting for honesty? Someone mentioned that Jin was seen clutching something tightly in his hand while standing in front of the military gate. It was not a mobile phone, not a wallet, and not even a letter, but a small piece of paper, neatly folded, like a note written hastily and full of urgency. When a strong wind came from the west, Jin seemed to hurriedly slip it into the inner pocket of his jacket. What's in that paper? Was it a message from Jimin? Or something Jin found in the military meeting room? We don't know. But for sure, it's not trivial. Jin is not the type to store things without meaning. And under these conditions, every little gesture can mean a huge amount. The army is not silent. They flooded social media platforms with questions and concerns. Some highlighted how during his visit to Jimin, HYB did not upload anything, not even a single photo. Though Jin's every activity is usually neatly documented, especially when it comes to BTS and other members. When Jungkook met with Taehyung before the two entered the military, there was a photo release. When RM played guitar in camp, HYB posted it proudly. But this time, silence.
Quiet.
As if the visit never happened. But the fans know better. They know that silence can mean louder than shouting. And Jin's presence in front of the military gate with a pale face, teary eyes, and not a single staff member by his side speaks volumes from thousands of Instagram posts. A few days before this incident, Army, who is active in the South Korean military community, had leaked that Jimin looked not as cheerful as usual. He is more silent, looks down when walking, and does not respond as often to his colleagues. Then came the most thrilling speculation. Is Jimin sick? If so, why didn't HYB clarify? And did the genie know about it in advance and chose to come quietly without publication for the sake of preserving privacy? But the way Jin waits outside, like someone the agency didn't pick up, and instead waits for someone in a very personal way, changes everything. It was no ordinary visit. It wasn't just a reunion. It was like a hidden mission, full of emotions, burdens, and might. Messaged, this a sign that the relationship between BTS members is now not only marred by the temporary separation due to the military, but also by agency decisions that may not be to the members' liking. And did the genie, who had always been known to be calm and obedient, begin to speak out in the most subtle and heartbreaking way possible, by standing alone in cloudy weather, unprotected, like a soldier who no longer cared whether he would be blamed for being too honest. Time keeps rolling. But to his surprise, some soldiers from Korea claimed to see Jin get into a black car with a license plate that was not listed as HYB's official vehicle. Does this mean the genie was picked up by someone from outside the system? Someone who doesn't want to be known? Is that his old friend? Former staff who once worked for BTS? Or, and this is the most surprising, someone from the Jimin family? Some theories thrive wildly.